Considering that the ideal standard of beauty for hair in American culture is straight, long, and blonde, Black women have had a long journey of learning to care for and love our hair. So what messages does society convey to us about us and the world about our hair? What did our early experiences with our families and communities teach us about our hair? What do the men in our lives tell us? What do we tell each other? And what do we tell ourselves? And how do these messages affect our hair esteem, our self-esteem, and ultimately how we move in the world? Today we have Nefa Richard Johnson and Regina Dixon. We will explore these questions as we also talk about our own journeys with our hair. Let's have a conversation. So, where do we begin?
I guess you know, when we started talking before the cameras were like, what were our images or what messages did we get about hair as little girls? That's,
right.
That's where it all starts. And I had a mom who wore her hair natural. I mean, even to this day, she wears her hair natural. So that was my first go-to. Even though when I was, I don't know, I think maybe I got my hair straight when I was 11. I didn't think it was cute when she was wearing it back then. But that was my image all the time of my mom and quite a few of my aunts. They wore their hair natural. So
so that's interesting. But you didn't think it was cute?
I did, because that's not how my friends were wearing their hair. You know, as a kid, I mean, you know, up until 10 or 11, you had the braids and, you know, cutie styles. But as you got older and you wanted to be cute and fly, you would get it straight. You know, it was pressed or curled or some variation. So, yeah, at the time, it wasn't attractive. But...
Wow, that's really interesting to me, because I didn't notice. I know Pat has a story about me getting my hair done when I was a kid, but I actually didn't remember. When I think back, I don't remember having issues about my hair until I got to high school. Before that, I don't remember having issues, with the exception of getting it done, which is a story Pat loves to tell.
Well, yeah, because I think, like, some of us, we associate, for a lot of Black girls, we associate our hair with pain. Because it's getting it done hurts. Right. And so then it becomes a miserable experience early in our lives. Now, I'm surprised you don't remember because...
Oh, no, I remember that, but I'm saying I didn't have issues with, how I don't like my hair. Right. I don't, until I got to high school. Before then, I was fine with my hair. But I remember the pain of getting my hair done. You know, that was really hard. Yeah. I mean, my mom used to sit me on the floor in between her legs, and for me, it felt like it might have not been this way. This might not been the way she was doing it, but for me, it felt like she was taking the hot comb and going from the root all the way down like this. But because I always had very thick hair, and I mean, it was brutal for me. I cried the whole time.
I was very tender-headed, and so the fuss was always made about, my father was, first of all, I liked the way he did it, but the fuss was always made about making sure that they put a straightening comb on it. So, but I think what society does, though, I think society tells us that our hair is inferior. And I think when I was a kid, the models that I saw were, you know, of course, a straightening comb, but also most of the women wore wigs. And so, of course, then if most of the women that you were around wore wigs, particularly my mother wore a wig because she lived with a wig.
Right, and our sister. Now wear a wig early.
They look crazy, and I thought they looked crazy. I was like, I will never wear a wig, right? Because I just thought they looked. I just didn't like the way they looked. Like you said, you didn't like the way the natural look, and I didn't like the way the wig looked.
Yeah, I didn't like that. The wigs have come a long way now.
Yeah, absolutely.
But back then they was awful.
But today, I guess it depends. I don't know that our young women struggle with their natural hair. You know, I teach high schoolers, and I had one girl, and it was cool, and I've had some even now. Like, I have a girl now, she wears her hair natural. It's like a total straight, you know, throwback little fro. Nobody gives her a hard time. And then there's some girls that have the extensions. Some people have the lace front. It seems like people are more open, like whatever you want to do. Yeah. I had one girl, she would come, beautiful girl, she would come with her hair short one day, then she'd have a long wig the next day. And growing up, just like you all said, wigs were not cool. It wasn't cool. Who wanted to wear a wig? But young girls,
what they were doing,
but I'm saying young girls wear wigs now.
Now,
quite okay with it.
Well, you didn't think it was cool, and see, you had a more conscious mother. See, it depends on the community you were raised in, because like it's, a lot of us get our ideas from entertainment, from television, from media. And so when we were coming up, like in the early the 60s and the 70s, I mean, you had the entertainers like Diana Ross, Supremes, and Marvettes, and all those. They wore wigs, and so that was kind of like what our models were.
Right.
I guess pretending my mothers, models were in terms of what for their hair. But it's interesting. Black people have had a long journey with hair in this country.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, starting with the slave experience when we first got here. There was no care. I mean, for probably the first 2 centuries, there was no care about maintaining our hair and our hygiene, let alone our hair. And so, the way they gave us they brushes from the animals. I think there was no concept of a comb. And then, because there was no care, then the diseases ran rapid. They were rampant. It was like ringworm was like a major disease in our hair. We had scalp disease. We had a lot of hair loss. And I think that's one of the reasons why, after slavery and around the turn of the century, women just didn't know what to do with their hair. So Madam C.J. Walker, that's one of the reasons she came wealthy, because she came up with a solution for us to be able to deal with our hair. In fact, you read some of the history, it was just amazing to hear. They were putting like kerosene, can you imagine putting kerosene in your hair? Like somebody put fire, you're going to burn your hair up, right?
Well, kerosene was to make it easy.
But they were putting solutions. Like it was, back in the day they used to use lye. Mm-hmm. And so a lot of people were burning their hair out with lye, but they would take like kerosene and butter and stuff like that and try to mix it to make it straight. Mm-hmm. And so just a whole bunch of things that we were doing. So of course there was a lot of hair loss. Okay. And I think Madam C.J. Walker said it was a spiritual thing for her. She actually prayed and asked God to give her a resolution to help us to deal with our hair. Mm-hmm. And so that's probably why she became a millionaire, the first black woman millionaire, because she came up with something that was really, really needed. Mm-hmm. But yeah, so, and then even like during those times too, they said, because one of the things that they did historically was to, put a head rag. And that head rag, sometimes you look at it, you wonder if it was a carryover from our African experiences, because in Africa, women always covered their hair. They had like a lot of, you could tell what women were from based on their hair wraps. Mm-hmm. So when you got to the slave experience, now you got the head rag. And so what white people try to do is always cover our hair. And so you had the head rag, and then the head rag was made out of potato bags, the sacks that you put potatoes in. And because they were hating for lice and all kind of parasites, this also was causing a lot of diseases of our scalp and stuff like this. Yeah. And so we have a serious history there. And so of course, yeah.
It's definitely generational though, because to me, like when we were growing up in the 60s and the 70s, to have hair like mine's, thick, natural, I was considered to have bad hair.
Right.
And I actually didn't get the ramifications of that until I got to high school. That's when I started getting negative pictures and negative things said about my hair. Mm-hmm. Before that, to me, it was I don't remember disliking myself. Once I got to high school and started getting picked on about hair and the way, my type of hair, my grade of hair, my type of hair, that's when it became a negative thing for me. Mm-hmm. But when I look at it today, I mean, there's so much, everything's, because these kids, they don't mind wearing the wigs. There's so much to do with their hair now that I think it's so much different. Yeah, I remember even when I was in college, I used to wear my hair in like French braids, and I would have remember how people used to put little beads on them? Mm-hmm. I had beads on them, and I was in nursing school. And I was actually told in nursing school that I have to remove my hair from the braids, take the beads out before I could go to the hospital, because when I was in nursing school, this was early 80s, so they still had that Florence Nightingale attitude about the little nursing hats and all that. And I couldn't be me. I couldn't even wear my even if I was like, okay, well, I'll take the jury out, because I was thinking, oh, they don't like the jury part, so I'll take the jury out. No, you have to take the braids out. Mm-hmm. You have to wear your hair out. I mean, I had to like straighten my hair to go to, not in class. In class it was, well, they didn't like it in class, but they didn't bother me. But to go into the hospital, I had to take my hair down.
And then did they say a reason just because this is the rule, or the way it looks? Did they say it was trying to make about hygiene?
It was basically a white school, so no, they didn't say it was hygiene or anything, but it wasn't proper for me to wear a hat with my hair like that.
Wow.
To them.
Right. Well, you know,
I was actually there was only 4 black people in my nursing class. So everybody was white, so they gave us all a hard time.
Well, it's interesting how a lot of black women have experienced that, like I think in the 70s, you know, with the 60s and 70s, then we started wearing the fro.
Right.
So a lot of us was like, oh, you know, right on. Angela Davis had the big afro, so all of us wanted to have a big afro and stuff like that. But I remember a couple of black anchor women was challenged with me. They were telling them they had to change their hair, otherwise they were going to lose their jobs. And so, you know, that's amazing that we had that kind of history. And so, but I think it's interesting what y'all say, because today, I think it's because of social media and because of just wide media now. Yeah. It's just everything is kind of eclectic, so you can kind of do whatever you want and feel.
Right.
But it doesn't mean that women still don't have issues with their hair.
Oh, definitely.
Right. Because
definitely do.
Mm-hmm.
Women definitely have issues with the hair because a lot of people still don't like their natural hair.
Right.
They prefer to have, you know, that look from them. You know, the whole musical industry, that whole social media. Everybody's covering up, even in beautiful. My girlfriend's daughter has gorgeous, beautiful hair. Her natural, beautiful hair. She's always never ever see her without a weave.
Wow.
She got gorgeous, beautiful hair. Her natural hair is just awesome. Yeah. She does not like it.
Yeah, and I think when Chris Rock did the good hair thing, it brought to light, because I was really moved by that, because it brought to light the challenges we have with our hair. Right. Because I remember that one scene where he asked the guy, "Would you like an afro? Would you?" And the guy was like, "Ooh," you know. And so I think this culture had always taught us that it was something inferior about our hair. Exactly. Because, you know, the white woman is always sold as the ideal beauty. And so the blonde, long hair, because one of the things I used to do in my class was to show put a picture of Britney Spears in the middle. This was during that time. And then I put around her all the black women entertainers, and all of them had long blonde wigs. Mm-hmm. So it's like, and so it's amazing to me how they got superstar status. Even Mary J. Blige, you know, a lot of them, even today, still wear blonde hair and blonde wigs, and that's really we're not born with blonde hair. You know what I'm saying? So, but I think some of that has to do with, because that's what's expected in the industry, and that's what they talked about in Chris Rock's documentary a lot. They talked about how the women talked about how they had to wear, regardless of whatever their hair was like, they had to wear weaves to make it longer for it to be accepted. So I think that although the culture is still eclectic, and it's becoming more open, which is great for young women. Definitely. But there's still pressure. Let me just give you an example. In case we should want to say something.
Well, I was going to say, I think about the India Ari song, "I'm Not My Hair."
Right.
And I love that song because in the video, you see her, she's got every type of style you can think. And basically the message is, it really doesn't matter. I mean, I could put on a wig, I could put on braids, but the essence of who I am is not my hair, so I'm not going to get caught up in it. I'm not going to get caught up in how you define me. I'm going to be who I am, and it's not going to have anything to do with my hair. And I'm not going to let you make me think that my hair, what it looks like, is important. So I love that message.
And that's one of the reasons I like these discussions with Risha, because Risha always comes from a place of empowerment. Mm-hmm. So that's just really good stuff. Mm-hmm. And it's good, but it's a great place. But what we would like is for all of us to be able to get there. You know, to be able to come from a position of empowerment. And some of how I think women even feel about themselves, and women who feel empowered, have to do with looks. You know, so that's a whole other conversation that I want to talk about, because I think a lot in this culture, if a woman doesn't feel confident about her physical appearance, and that undermines everything she does. Okay. And so I'm going to, but I'm going to deal with that one another. I want to go down that road with that one. It takes us somewhere else. But one of the things I thought was interesting is that even though I think we have come a long way in terms of with our hair, but first I want to talk about a little about the history, because we went from the straightening comb to the wig, and then I think in the 70s we had the afro. Right, and then in the 80s, we had of course, the Jerry curl. The Afro went to the Jerry curl. Right, and then in the 90s, we had the Afrocentric movement, and then everybody started wearing their hair and all the different other the locks and all that and everything. Right. And so now we come to a place where we do it all. Right. You know? And the weaves and all that too. That was like part of the 90s and all that. So it's like we have this history. And I think what happened was the entertainers in the 90s, like Jill Scott, Erykah Badu, 90s or the 2000s.
90s.
It was
90s. Started in the 90s.
Right, so they begin to give us new models. But I think some of them have gone back the other way. Lauryn Hill and all them, so they gave us new models for hair. So it's amazing how the entertainment industry, a lot of us start to follow the entertainment industry. But I think that even though a lot of us are, we in a new day with regard to this, there's still some things I think that we still struggle with. Let me just give you an example. I had a few years ago, a friend of mine asked me to do his daughter's hair, right? Because little girls, I think, still are affected by it, and young women, because when I got my niece, she was really seriously affected by it. But he asked me to do his daughter's hair, and she had it straight before that. And so took it out so I could, I think, wash it and braid it. That girl fought me so hard. It was unbelievable how hard the fight was because I was taking the straight out, right? And then me and her would have conversations, and then and I think what parents need to think about particularly when they send their kids to, because some parents send their children to white schools, because they think that, I don't want to say white, but schools that are supposed to be better, but typically are white. And so I think some of them don't take into consideration the impact that has on their own self-identity. Because she was going to a predominantly white school, and I think she said there was only 5 other black kids. And she was really, she was 9 years old, and I was just floored by how she started to internalize this inferior thing about her hair. She was like, well, why do they have ponytails and I don't have one? And then she started, really, really had really a bad outlook about her hair, and that's because she was comparing it to the white girls in her school. So I think some of us are still, our children are still affected by it in some ways. It just depends on how what we do with it and how we deal with our hair and then how we deal with their hair. So.
Of course, because, even some parents, I know 2 people that their baby's 2 years old and they're perming their hair, so the parents also still have issues about the hair. When you can put a relax on a 2-year-old's hair, that says something.
Right, and then saying you can't manage it, so I have to do this.
Right.
So they're burning their hair out really, really early. So I think those are things that Chris Rock brought to light when he did the stuff about the perms and how that was basically just like lying, basically, but burning your hair out and everything.
Yeah, and I saw the Chris Rock documentary, and I don't know if it was covered, but there was something that showed the damage that lye does. I guess they had done some autopsies or something, and they actually showed how it seeps, because the skin is our largest organ, and I can't even begin to tell you what it looked like. It was just some type of greenish mold. It was horrific of what it actually does. Now, for me, I went natural in 1994, and I had decided to go. I think I thought about it. I was last year at Howard, and I just wanted to be healthier. And I just knew, what I was taking in, what you take in your body, and what you put on your hair. All of that matters. So I just wanted to be healthier. So it was almost like a year thing. I told my stylist, okay, I'm going to go natural, and he started cutting the relaxer out. Now with me, even with relaxer, I would wait a long time. I wasn't one that had to be bone straight, so I would pull it back, and I would wait a long time to get touch up. So it didn't have to be bone straight, but it was what I was used to. So I cut it all off, and I was a little concerned because it was like 94, and I was thinking, okay, and I had like a, what they call a TWA, teeny weeny afro. And I was like, oh, a guy's gonna be like, oh. And I tell you, I went and got my hair cut. And I went into, and at the time, I think I was with Rick, so I wasn't worried about having a mate. But I went into the grocery store, and to me, I was like, guys was rushing over. All of a sudden, it was like guys were coming from the frozen produce, and I was like, why is he having my face? Even more so than before. And I had just got my hair cut. Yes, I had just got my hair cut. So I said, okay, so whatever I was concerned about or what people brought up, like, well, guys don't like short hair, and that was immediately, squashed because I had just got my hair cut, and dudes in the grocery store, but I hadn't noticed before were all over my face. So I was like, oh, obviously that doesn't make a difference. So it started in 1994. Do the math, I haven't had any type of chemicals in my hair since then. But it started with me wanting to be healthier and just not knowing what the lye was doing, because I actually studied cosmetology when I was in high school.
Wow, okay.
And so I knew everything that it took, to make your hair a certain way. So I just was like, I don't want to do all that to my hair anymore. And I would never go back. Like, people ask me, they're like, well, have you ever thought of? I was like, no. Being a girl, I might like different looks, but I have no desire to do all that.
It's I want to come back to your point about the poisoning of your scalp, because but the eighth leading cause of death for black women is septicemia. And I remember when I saw that, I'm like, it's poison of the blood, right? And I was like, well, what would be causing us to have poison of the blood? So it made me kind of wonder if that, I'm sure a lot of it has to do with diet, and environment, but it made me wonder how that could be the eighth leading cause of death for us. And so it made me wonder whether or not it had to do with some of the chemicals and stuff that we put in on our hair and stuff like that. But for me, in terms of the, I think I decided to stop permanently. Well, what happened for me in my class, a sister challenged me, right? Because I'm in Black Studies, right? And so I had just got my hair permed, right? And I had been considering not doing it because I could touch my hair. All I had to do was touch it, and it would just break. And I was like, okay, I think this stuff is damaging my hair. And so, and I didn't like it. I didn't like the look. I didn't like that real straight look, because I felt like it made me look really plain. My mother, now the old generations, they like that stuff. And my mother would always like, you need to straighten it, wear it straight, and just let it, and all that. I'm like, no, I'm like a white girl. I didn't want to. I thought I looked plain, and I didn't want to have that look, right? But anyway, so she's like, well, you're supposed to be in Black Studies, whatever she said to me, and you're perming your hair. She was upset with me.
This was a student.
This was a student, right? Okay. And so I don't know how, I can't remember how I responded, but I remember I gave it a lot of thought, and it made me think about how, okay, I'm standing in front of these sisters, and what am I saying to them about myself and how I think about myself, my hair. So I had to being in Black Studies and teaching Black people, you have to. There was always a constant. I'm always conscious, and so I'm conscious of what I'm portraying to them, and all that. And interestingly, because I was teaching family and relationships, some women, I wasn't married for a long time, and some women actually make a choice to have children regardless if they have a mate. I was like, I can't even do that, because I didn't want to come to them teaching them about relationships and family, and then I'm a single, having a baby outside of marriage and the single mom. So it's amazing the pressure that felt. But it made me really, really think about it. And so since, I don't know if I changed it then, but I remember, it's been about 20 years now since I've gone natural. So it's been a serious journey for me too. But I forgot where I was going with this, so somebody's just bring me back in.
We'll learn.
Well, you sound like you were talking about the pressure and how she called you out.
Yeah, she called me out, and it made me really think about it and how I wanted to, because I wanted to say to them, it's okay for us to be how we come into the world. But also, that I think in my class, something that was significant to me was, I forgot where I was going.
So for me, perms never really took to my hair, so I probably had maybe 5 perms my entire life. Even when I did get them, they would burn my scalp because people would leave it on so long, because I would say, no, perms don't take. And they'd have to try to prove me wrong, so they would leave it on there a long time and just burn my scalp. So I hardly ever had perms. I did used to, I hated my hair. When I loved them before high school, I don't remember. When I think it wasn't a problem because I don't remember any horror stories from it. But when I got to high school, it was horror stories. So that's when I would start straightening my hair. Now I want my hair to look like everybody else. I want it, And I don't think I really appreciated and loved my hair until I was about 29 years old. And that's when I loved my hair. But up until then, it was always straightening, which was also breaking it off. So natural was the best thing. Oh my God, when I said, okay, I'm going natural, that was the best thing to me. It makes me wish I would have done it like years and years earlier. And I actually only went locking because I was like, I can't do this. I can't. My hair was always so thick. It was so much work. I was like, I don't feel like doing this work. It was hours and hours to handle it. So I got tired of that part. So I said, I'm going to lock it, and that's it. And that's what took me on that journey. But love it.
Yeah. And I was thinking about my classes. I remember we'd have these conversations about beauty and hair and stuff like that with the sisters. And they were like, well, people tell you the reasons they did it, which was, you get it, you understand. Mm. But I would say to them, I was like, if the majority of, because I look around the classroom, the majority of black women has permed hair. And I was like, well, if the majority of us are perming our hair, perhaps it might have something to do with the messages that we're getting from the culture. Maybe something is, a lot of us think that our ideals, our values came from us, right? This is just how I feel. Well, you got to get it from your parents, or you got it from society, or you got it from somewhere, right? And I was like, if the majority of us are straightening our hair, then that tells me that the majority that there's something else going on other than we think this is just a choice, because we just want to, So I was saying in so many words how we've internalized that standard of straight hair, and so it's on to look around, and then we have that discussion about that and everything. I had something else to thought on that. I don't have my pencil to hold it.
Well, I know today, just with everything, people having more choices and people being more open to everything. Like if I even look around my classroom, I mean, some girls, they might have their hair pulled back in a cute little, little pom-pom on top of their head. Somebody might have the weave, the straight weave. They got the braids. They treat it almost like a costume. Like, well, this is how I'm gonna look. So none of it, everything's okay. I mean, none of them see. And it's so funny because I remember years ago, I had my hair. I was just leaving Jamaica, and I was trying to get my hair to grow out. It was short, and I didn't want to grow it out. And I had, put some product on it and got the curl pattern and everything. And one of my friends, she saw me, and she was from Miami, and she was like, and it was really short. She was like, she said, it's really cute. She said, but people would put weave in their hair so it could look like that. And so her point was, it's not for the length. It's just they want something else that's not their hair, and they're not about to do all that. Right. So they'll just weave their hair up just to have something else. And so I think nowadays it's like you're on stage, and I can wear my hair this way this day. Yes. So I don't think they think about it as much and struggle with it. Even though there are standards of beauty, really the standards of beauty come from the strip club. It seems like, and of course the strip club, they do have weaves. But to me, it's like a strip club culture, like the high heels, the large behinds, what they wear. They're very influenced. The whole, love and hip hop, all of that is strip culture. If you kind of look at how they're dressed, so. And I'm not saying that they embrace naturalness, but I think everything's on the table, everything's okay, because we're all on stage, and it doesn't matter. So.
Yeah, that's interesting. But I was going back to my classes, like I think when I first started teaching, the majority of women had their hair permed and straightened, and then I think I took a year off. You know how you just kind of, and maybe I stopped even paying attention, because I'm always in an observant mode, And I took a year off. I went back and I walked into the room. And I looked around the room, and I was like, wow. It was like the majority of this, I just saw all this big hair. And the room was just like heavy, right? Dense, really, but it was like heavy because it was like all the women, not all the women, but the majority of the women now were wearing their hair natural. So sisters had these big afros, and I was like, oh my God, look at the beauty, So it was just very interesting to see how over.
And you're right, because even when I look at the women I work with, in my department, all of us are brown women, and the majority of them have natural hair.
Okay.
And if I think back, and I don't know because mine's been natural so long, I wonder what encouraged it. Like what, because we are influenced by what we see in the media. And a lot of the women, they're younger. They're maybe in their 30s, maybe a couple in their 20s. So I wonder what and who, where were they seeing more images of natural hair that made them? Because natural hair is a whole industry. Like there's a natural hair show coming up in Atlanta in a week that I'm going to go check out. I've never been, but I've heard it's huge. Yeah. And it's a huge industry. And of course people find ways to make money off anything. But I wonder what made the shift. Like when I look at media, what was it, Lauryn Hill? I mean, who made people say, you know what, that's a viable option? Because most people, most brown women, if you're right, I see more people with natural hair than the other way.
Well, I think some of it has to do also with getting frustrated with that perm, because that was the thing too. Like you got so sick. I didn't even like it. I didn't even like the way my hair. I mean, it was harder with the perm because it made it more tangled. And it was amazing to me after I stopped perming, I did cut it off, cut it short, and then because you have to cut it down to get the perm out into the perm, whatever. And I remember my hair started growing back. I was like, oh, I didn't know I had nice hair. We had been perming. I think I started perming around 15, and so some of us start, because you got cousins and bigger sisters, and that's what's presented and everything. But and it was interesting how some of us, I used to tell the kids in my class, like some of us don't even know what our hair is like.
Right.
Right. And we don't, because since we can remember, we were perming. And so I think what some of us got to the place where you just don't want to do that anymore. Like you said, you didn't want to do it. Did you say you did?
Well, I said that I wanted to be healthier, and
right.
you know, that was back when nobody was doing that.
Right.
I don't know. I mean, I'm sure there's people who did it for this reason or that, but I know it was something in the culture because so many people wear their hair natural, so it was something that shifted.
Yeah.
I mean, so many people, and I don't know, and I should ask some people, but I think they were starting to see models. You know, of people who had beautiful people who had their hair natural.
You saw how beautiful you look, right?
And so they started seeing that more often. I think that was it. And I guess I'm thinking, well, where were they seeing so many images, and when did it shift? Because there was a shift at some point.
Well, I think the shift had to do with some of the social media stuff. I mean, I know that in the 90s, that they had the Afrocentric movement. So then it ushered in the 2000s. And then when did social media get started?
Well, when people start paying attention, that's a good question.
Yeah, because MySpace was one of the first ones, you know what I mean? And then, so I think some of it had to do with social media. And now you saw more images, and you saw how beautiful those images were. I saw something the other day, these sisters, it's amazing, but I'll probably add that later, but I think the hair was all the way down to here, and so they had made some kind of major magazine or something because it was two sisters or twin sisters or something. And it was just absolutely beautiful. So I think that's some of probably what it is that social media, now we see just so many images, and you see how beautiful it is. We are affirming, I think, feel more affirmed with our natural hair. And I think some of us have discovered we really do have nice hair, and we discovered that it's almost easier to do than it was when I had a perm.
And I have people that still don't feel that way. They feel like the natural is more difficult because what are you going to do with it? Like, are you going to braid it? It's not just a straight hairstyle that you can go.
But they got so much more stuff out here, so much more products now that I almost wish I wasn't locked, because they have a lot of products where you can do your natural hair now that, I mean, it just makes it so easy. Like when I used to try to do my natural hair before locking, my God, you remember, it used to take me, I would have to stay in the house the whole weekend because it would take me a whole weekend just to like twist my hair, put my hair in a little twist. And now they got a lot more products that make it so much easier.
Yeah, now let me kind of contextualize.
That's not straightening. Yeah. I mean, they're not the type of products that straighten.
It just makes it softer.
Right. More manageable.
Yeah, let me contextualize, because I do have, like, I did go natural, and it was less tangled, but then it was like I went through a period where it was like I can't do my hair. It was that's how hard it was, right? Because trying to get a comb, I couldn't get a comb through it. I couldn't, so I was just run to the hairdresser. I'm like, I just go to the hairdresser. Let somebody do it because I couldn't handle it. But I think what happened was now that I'm older, it thinned out, and so I didn't. You would never think mad at somebody saying I'm glad my hair thinned out, but it thinned it out, and so now it makes it really easy to manage. So either it thinned out, or maybe because I conditioned, because I hadn't conditioned in years either.
So that helps.
But anything else?
These young kids almost got it made these days though, because they could do so much. There's a lot of natural stuff they can use to make their hair manageable if they're using their own natural hair. And then there's so many different wigs, weaves, all this stuff they got.
And wigs, right? And the weaves and stuff look so much natural. Like there's a lot of sisters who used to be in my class, and I thought that was in that. Until they told me, it was like, no, this is hair. I'm like, that's hair, not natural hair.
So you can get the wig, because I have people ask me all the time, is this my hair? And then I have a former colleague, she's got locks that are extensions, and they look real. I mean, they look great. And I have to say that with the sister locks, my sister locks, I've had them probably like right before I had my son. He's 15, so I always say 15 years. And what happened is I lived in Florida at the time, and I would blow my hair out and wear afros here and there. But in Florida, it was moisture, so I blow dry it out, all bouncing and behaving in the morning, got a cute fro, and then it would shrink down this. And one of my colleagues came, and I knew I wanted longer natural hair. She came to work with the sister locks, and I was like, I want that, because people were like, "Ooh, get traditional locks." And to me, traditional locks were too restrictive. Like with sister locks, you can curl them, you can do all kinds. So I saw her, I said, I want my hair like that. And she had the micros, and And when I went to the person who did her hair, I have a lot of hair, so she was looking at me like, I'm not trying to put all those locks in your hair. And I said, well, I want it like Arlene's, and you're gonna make it happen. And so I put them in, and they were probably this long, and I've grown them out. But I get stopped on the regular. Like I say, my hair could have its own little Instagram page and be really popular. I get stopped. I got stopped today at the spa. Some girl was behind me and was just like, oh my God, your hair's beautiful. And she started talking to me, and my friends have locks. And, she just started talking to me about her locks. I've had Caucasian. I had seen it all. I had this Caucasian woman come up to me in Ohio. She had locks, white people locks. And she was just like, oh my God. And she knew that they were sister locks. And she's a hairstylist. So she was like, oh my God, where'd you get your locks done? She's like, see, I want to do that with my clients. And she had another hairstylist that was a Caucasian man. And they were just all into my hair. And they were like, oh my God, we want to do this with our clients. And I wanted to say, are your clients brown? I mean, are white people getting sister locks? Like, I was wondering, but I just knew, I was like, wow, sister locks have totally gone all the way over there. That, you have a couple white people coming to you, talking to you, knowing what it is, asking you questions about it. But people, I think, my students love it. They ask, if I let them, we would be having a whole lesson on sister locks. They'll be like, okay, so Miss, how long have you been doing it, guys and girls? And so I was like, okay, time out for the hair discussion. We're going to get back to the lesson. But they're fascinated with it. And of course, because I don't care if you're African American, or white or whatever, hair is a big deal. Women's, their crown, and having long, luxurious
how you feel about yourself.
Right.
And
So it doesn't matter. I get stopped by all kinds. I've had white people look at me like, if I was black, I would wear my hair like that. Oh my God, it's gorgeous.
Well, it's almost like sister locks give you that long. The other thing in this culture, too, we make a big deal out of long hair.
Right.
Because it's like sister locks give you that long hair. That long, full look. Some dreadlocks, I've seen sisters with dreadlocks. I remember, I've seen sisters going to conferences and their locks were down to their calves.
Yes.
And I remember when I took a trip to Africa, and this sister had her hair under something. And she, I know this sister was on something spiritual too, right? Because she kept saying, I want to see the president. I want to see the president. And I'm looking at her like, now what makes you think just because you're in Africa you can go see the president, right? So anyway, then one day she got off the bus, and one of her locks fell, and she fell out of her hair, and she stepped on it.
Wow.
I was like, wow. So yeah, she was on something serious because we saw the president, right? And I was asking, who does she think she is, right? Hey, look, then when the president came, we were sitting in this restaurant. We didn't know the president was going to be there, so we just went in and sat, kind of like, we just walked in, sat down. Nobody told us we couldn't come in. Sat down, sat in the 5th row from the back, and waited for the president of the country, right? I was like, okay, this is Africa, right? And then I started looking at her like, oh my God, who is she? I was like, first of all, I was like, who does she think she is?
Right.
Then I was like, who is she? Because she summoned, she summoned the president, right? But anyway, so I forgot where I was going with this again.
We're just having a conversation, but yeah, I do think, like you said, people they love long hair.
It's long hair.
In our culture, long hair.
It's like sister locks is the black woman's long hair. I hate to say it, but it's kind of.
Well, yeah, and it's funny. One of my colleagues stopped me, and she was like, why do you think that when you put your hair, say, in locks, it grows so much? And I was like, well, our hair really is fragile. Right. And when you keep combing on it and all that, it breaks it off. Right. And when you lock it, you're not pulling it out. You're not doing anything. You're just letting it be, and it's moisturized and all that. So it's in its best state. Right. So it just keeps growing. And so really, our hair, we think, because I think you compare it to white people and you assume because it's thick and it's coarse that it's tough. But our hair is really fragile, and so all that pulling and all that, it's not for us. Yeah, it's not meant to be that way. Yeah. So that's why our hair may seem like it doesn't grow because it breaks off, and we're trying to put it in style. So
trying to conform to the culture is telling us to do.
Yeah.
All right. Anybody want to add to this conversation?
Anything else about the hair, Johnny?
Yeah. Well, I could just say in terms of personal too. Let's piece it. I can say also too. I remember one day, because that's when I was with natural, and of course you still have to learn how to do it, and it was just so hard to do, right? So one day I woke up. I was married, and I woke up and I was like, I can't do this no more. I just don't want to do this no more, right? So I said, I'm going to get it all cut off, and I went and left out. And I told this girl, I said, just cut it. So she said, you sure? So she was doing a little at a time. You sure? I said, just cut it all off, right? And after she cut it, I was like, OMG, what have I done, right? Because it didn't look good, right?
She cut it really short too.
Well, I wanted it short. I was like, I just want to see. I did that when I was young too. I had to cut it short when we were young. I just didn't remember how. But I did it when I was young. I didn't remember how good I did look or didn't look.
Right.
All I remember was every time I would come home, my mother, who was really into, because she wore a wig all the time, and she had hair problems. She used to have a lot of hair loss. But the whole summer, she looked at me like this. She just rolled her eye every time she saw me, like. And so, when I did it the second time, as an adult, and then I came home, my husband didn't say nothing, right? He was just quiet. And I was like, OMG.
No, it wasn't it wasn't a hit, huh? It wasn't a hit.
Right, it wasn't a hit.
It was shocking, but I actually thought it looked good after you get over that.
Right, you get used to it.
Right, but it depends on your head shape and stuff like that. I just didn't think it might.
See, and I remember when I got my hair cut all those years ago, and I got it cut, and people would say to me, "Oh, you have the head for it. Oh, you have the face." Personally, I have never seen anybody that didn't look attractive. Any black woman when she cut her hair. To me, because I think whatever you got going on is just enhanced. Especially, you put your earrings on, your makeup. I've never seen someone with short hair. And I'm like, oh, she needs never. I don't care whether they're skinny, hefty. To me, they've always been attractive because I just think that natural. Our natural features goes along. I mean, that's why our hair is the way it is. Everything kind of works together. So when you cut it off, it enhances whatever you have going on. But you got the eyes and whatever you have, it enhances it. So I've never seen anybody that I looked and I was like, well, she shouldn't have cut her hair. I personally.
But I think it has to do with how you feel about yourself.
Absolutely.
Right. And so, certain style, you're like, that's not my best looking self. Right. So, that's not appealing. I can look better than that. So I think some of that has to do with it. But one of the questions I wanted to ask, you going to say something? Yeah, I guess the next question is, how does it affect our esteem? How does our hair affect our self-esteem? Are we sensitive about it?
I think we are. I know I am very sensitive about it. Like she said, I agree with you when you said people you've seen that went bald, they still look beautiful. And I got to agree with that, but I have such fear of being one of those. Like actually losing my hair. To me, I don't feel like I would look good. But I agree, the people I've seen, I've seen a lot of women with cancer that lose their hair, and they actually do look gorgeous. And even when she cut hers off, she looked very pretty to me. But I have a devastating fear of it. I feel like I would. To me, I feel like, I don't know, I might, well, you accept what you can't change anyway. So if it happened, I have to deal with it, and it'll probably grow on me. But to sit here and say I think I would look gorgeous, I don't feel like I would.
And I do, and you always talk about how I'm coming from an empowerment place, but I do think everything kind of starts with how you feel about yourself. Right. So when you really hold yourself in high regard, like you, and I have always been somebody who's very confident, so it really, you cut my hair short, whatever, and I might look at myself and be like, girl, that is not cute, but it's not going to change the way I feel about myself. I'm still going to, I might not like the way I look, but it doesn't change anything. So I think when you're really confident, you might have your preference, but your sense of self is not going to be determined by what you look like on the outside. Yeah.
But I do think it does affect our self-esteem. Depending on how you feel about your hair. And I just give you an example of my niece that I had taken in, and she, I was just kind of interesting because we talk about some of the things we do, but some of the stuff isn't healthy because she had gotten weaved and they had glued the hair, because some of the weaves they glue in it.
Yeah.
And so then she had bald spots, and it's like, and it looked like it was not going to recover. So I don't know if it's recovered now, but so a lot of young girls really. Teenagers really, like you said, when you went to teenagers.
Yeah, it's such a...
They're still
they have a lot of the hairline, because especially when you have the braids, because it's real fragile hair, so people pull it out, and there are women, a lot of our women have hairline issues because they wore whatever.
It's really sad though. Yeah. There's so many things they do with your hair, and I think some of them are really great, some of them look beautiful, but the thought of putting glue on your head, to me, and even the eyelashes they put on, I think that might be changing now, but the eyelashes, they put glue around your eyes.
Right.
It
seems like it's unhealthy.
Oh my God, glue on my scalp and in my eye. Yeah.
But that's beauty. That's what is considered beautiful, and you know, and I think people, like you said, depending on where you are with your sense of self, yes, your hair, how you present yourself, can make you feel
good
better,
about yourself,
right? And make you be able to
about yourself,
make you be able to go out
right.
in the world. So absolutely, it does. You know, how people feel about themselves, I think it shows how they present themselves to the world. And I think with some of our women, they get that hair, and you just, you know, you feel like you, I don't know, Wonder Woman, whatever persona you want. Because I know growing up, our images were Caucasians and long hair,
right?
And so I did want,
it still is.
I wanted long hair, but we have so many more choices now, right?
Right. So many more images,
right? Because to be honest with you, you know, who's the beautiful white woman now?
But and then to be honest with you, who's the beautiful black woman now? You know, so they have to look at that too.
I mean, people think Michelle Obama's beautiful, or you know, I mean, now we have people that will embrace. I mean, you know, Beyonce or whatever. Some people might have their images about her, but still, there's a lot of women out there that you see now.
Yeah, but what do you like? Who do we see on TV, like television now?
I don't watch TV. So
yeah, So,
but like you said, you were right about the social media because my students tell me, they're like, Miss, I watch YouTube. So on YouTube, you can find a girl with a large afro or curly hair. You have so many images, so they get to choose what they look at.
Right. Exactly.
So now it doesn't even matter. It could be some YouTube star that they're following that has 1 million followers, and we don't know who she is, but they do.
Right.
So they don't have that box that we had where you had to say, well, who's on TV? They're like, I'm on TV, you know, because they're on YouTube. They can create their own, so I don't think they have the same limitations.
And then other question I have, like most guys say, well not most guys, but majority that I've heard say they don't like weaves, right? And they don't like unauthentic hair. So then the question is, who are we doing it for? Are we doing it for ourselves?
Yeah, that's generational too, because now, like the new age guys will tell you to go get a weave in a heartbeat. Like, oh yeah.
Well, I think it depends, because I mean, if it depends. I think there's some men that they're just not gonna be into it. Just like there's some men that might be our age that might be okay with a weave, but then there might be some 20-year-olds that'll say, you know what, that's not cute. I think it really depends on where they are. So there's people that love weaves and all.
You're so right. But you know, my friend, she was dating this guy, and my girlfriend has beautiful hair, and the length is probably about ear length, right? And she was dating this guy, and he kept telling her, oh no, you need to get the weave put back in, because she had a weave at one point, and he saw it, and he liked that. And then she started wearing her hair natural, and he's like, no. And she does it both. She'll go natural, or she'll straighten, or she'll put the weave in, depending on her move. So she's dating this guy, and he's like, no, put the weave back in. I mean, like, he was just hounding her about it. So then she was getting ready to go visit his family, and they was Skyping or something. And she had her own natural hair out. And he's like, well, are you going to get the weave before you come? I mean, he just had to have that weave. Now, this guy was 64 years old. Wow. Telling her, get a weave, right? I'm like, wow. And I was talking to this guy once, and he told me, he invited me to come to dinner to meet his mother, right? And he said, now, mind you, both of them from Africa. I mean, he's from Africa, his mom's from Africa.
They did a job in Africans.
Oh, my God. And he told me, he said, now, first of all, I'm thinking he already know my hair's locked, right? He said, oh, before we go to dinner to Mom's, can you take those braids out? I said, what? Take those braids out? I said, what braids? What are you talking about? Your hair, can you take those? I said, it's locked. You can't take it out. He said, well, my mom don't like braids. Well, tell your mother it's locks.
And but like she don't like it.
Right, but they're both from Africa.
That don't mean nothing. Like she said, they've been colonized too.
Oh, they've been colonized. Some of the African people have been more colonized than we have.
Right, I'm like, wow. How'd you want me to take my locks out? I said, well.
And that was interesting. I mean, that you got to the point where you getting ready to meet his mom, and he's never really said anything about it.
No, he's never said anything.
But then now it's like, okay, Mom, you meet Mom. This ain't gonna work out.
I was like, wow, okay.
So I guess you didn't go meet her.
You didn't go meet her?
No.
Oh, okay.
I was like, well, if your mom's going to be judging me, I'm not going to sit at the dinner table because
she don't like my
hair. I have a foul mouth.
Yeah, we got time for that.
I remember in response to Chris Rock's document, that good hair, bad hair thing really used to be a real serious thing in the black community. And it was really basically how women were put in classes. You know, it's like because it was closer to white women, you know, you were a class above. And that good hair, bad hair thing was very, very serious in our communities. And when I used to talk to the kids in my class, they said it was still significant, that good hair, bad hair thing. Yeah. But my response to that was, I was like, well, and I wrote a thing that said all hair is good because all hair comes from God. And I thought that was a good way to deal with the fact that, you know, that it's just ridiculous to say something's good and bad. It's just different types, different kinds.
Right.
So,
right.
So now how important is it that how your man thinks about your hair in terms of how that affects your choices?
Well, probably back
or the
men
in your lives.
When I was younger, probably would have been.
But
at this stage in my life, I'm just like.
I mean, more than anything, you have to be comfortable with how you look. And I think when you're confident and you're comfortable, then it works. I think if there's a man that has an issue with how you look, then, you know, he'll stay over there somewhere. Like, he just won't come into your hemisphere because you just mature. Like, we're mature now, so it's kind of like, it's almost like I would think any man, well, who cares? Like, what, you know, if I'm presentable, you know, why do you care?
Well, there's
it's not presentable to someone.
And some of them, that's one of the things that's significant too, is that they internalize that standard too.
So that wouldn't be nobody I'd be with,
right?
Because I don't have time for that. So so again, you're right. There are people that are there, but we wouldn't be vibing because I'd be like, I don't know who has time.
Well, you're married anyway, so you've been married with the same guy for a long time, right?
Yeah. So he's always been okay. I mean, he would basically say, if he wasn't, he didn't say anything. He was like, well, it's on you and it's attractive. Right. So, I mean, that was kind of how his thing was. But, I mean, he grew up at a time when it was very traditional and, you know, women had straight hair. But I just think, you know, he was just like, whatever. He never gave me a hard time about when I cut it. None of that. He never.
Yeah, I kind of feel the same. Like, they're not even going to come into your hemisphere if they don't like it. It's like, why come over to me if this is not attracted to you?
But I'm saying, like, you're with somebody and you do something radical, like I did, cut all my hair off, right? Or you do something radical, do a radical change.
So you're saying, you're asking whether we care? Because I'm saying, if you decide,
like, I just don't care.
I'm like, if this is unless it's just not presentable. But if I decide to cut my hair, what you gonna stop liking me?
Right.
I'm not my hair.
Right. Well, not my hair, but I still gotta look at you.
I guess I ain't never worried about that.
Right. All right, so you're with them and they all of a sudden you do something they don't like. So what? You gonna leave? Well, you know.
Like Jesus, like okay.
I've never had dealt with a guy like that. I've heard of guys like that. Yeah. But it's funny, I have a friend, and she's so funny to me. Her husband, like, he doesn't like weaves or wigs or whatever. And, you know, she experiments or whatever. And she said, sometimes you look at her and be like, what is that on your head? And she'll be thinking she, you know, just fine and so fine. And he is just not feeling it. He will not bite his tongue. He'll be like, you need to do something with it. Where you going? Where you going with that? You ain't going to with me with that thing on your head.
But I remember
it's so funny how people do be thinking they're looking good because my sister came here with a crazy wig on her head too, right? And she's
like, who are you?
I'm like, what is that? Why she got that on her head?
Like, who are you?
I'm like, why she got that on?
Right. And nobody had the heart to call out or ask some questions, you know.
Like you got a rug on your head.
Right.
You're looking crazy.
Take that off because it's bothering me. You know, it's like, you can't even have a conversation because it's bothering me.
You know, you're looking at trying like, who is she?
Right.
But I remember this girl had hired, like, not going to stand employers too with some of this hair stuff.
Right.
Because, you know, when you have a black business, you know, we have to really step up our game up real high because people don't have a lot of confidence in us in our business. They have stereotypes about people in business. And so you're very conscious about what people come in looking like, especially when you're dealing with clients, right? And some people really don't know how to dress and wear their hair on the job. I mean, whatever that looks like, you know, because that's been a big thing in this culture too, because they just now accepting, you know, dreads more recently. Right. A lot of guys couldn't get jobs, you know, all that stuff and everything. But I'm like, okay, now I finally get it because I'm an employer now, right? And this woman, she came, she looked so nice. She had these nice clothes on, and her hair was, I don't know what it was. I don't know if she had, you know, what it was, but it just looked normal. Whatever normal is. Then one day she came in the office, and I was like, oh my God, who is that? She had this wig on, it was like, oops, upside your head. It was I was like, oh my God, I got somebody in my front desk that's looking like, oops, upside your head. It was so much pressure. I'm like, how do I tell the sister she can't do this? You know, to the point, right? I'm like, my clients like looking at you now and saying, What's up? Like, oops upside your head.
I left a message with you. Oops upside your head.
So there is something to say for some of this stuff,
right?
But,
yeah.
But like you said, nothing's permanent, hopefully, right? And so you can change it or grow out, hopefully, if it grows back, after you do some of the damage you do. Because I remember, like, I see people now, like, with some of the stuff, I'm like, because, you get older, you get a little more conservative.
That's the beauty about the wigs. That's the beauty about the wigs. Because even if you look crazy, you finally realize, oh, I look crazy.
Right.
Just
you take it off
and keep it moving.
Right. But I remember when I was back at Howard, and I was trying to be a punk rocker, right, back then. Right? And I came, so I was doing, back then they was doing the Heter with the purples and all that. Yeah. And I see it now, I'm like, why would you do that, right?
Oh, I do purple and heartbeat right now.
Right.
You put purple in your hair.
Yeah, but the person, I wanted a tint, but he left it in too long, so then it became purple. Right. Which is normal now.
Now, right.
Like and I remember coming to the class and my professor did this. He's like, he had this face. It's like just made this real serious face when he looked at my hair. But I understood because I was like, Pat, this look crazy. Like really looks crazy. Right? But anyway, so.
I've had my hair every color, every hair. I tell the girls, especially like I said when I studied cosmetology, I would be somebody's guinea pig or whatever. We play around, and I've had every type of hair. So I would never. I actually had a colleague who was there was one teacher. She had locks. I had locks, and she kind of was like, you seem like, you're open and you don't, because some people's image, if you have locks, you're just natural and you're going to judge everybody who doesn't have locks. And I'm like, I would never, because first of all, I've had my hair in every style. And two, it's just hair. And, I don't think that because you wear your hair a certain way, that means you're not, whether they call it woke, it's just not that
Well, back in the day, people used to think if you had your hair in locks, you were conscious.
Right.
So you're black conscious.
That's not true.
Now we know that's not true because you meet some people.
That's not.
You hear some things say, you like, but when we first start discovering that,
right?
Because you're like, oh, that's a conscious sister. Like the same thing when I used to see Muslim women with their hair covered, everything covered. I used to think that they were somebody to rever. Until I interviewed sisters in the Muslim community, and I was like, these sisters act like Christian women, they just wearing the cover. They what's going on here? Just a bunch. They're just trying to be cute, But they, because a lot of Christians, we got these, there's some things you're supposed to do as a Christian, but we just do everything because most people in America are Christian, right? But we still just do everything, so we don't really follow it. But anyway, so it's just very interesting how.
And my son told me that he's been told that people have seen his mom, like, oh, your mom has locks, she smokes weed. And so that's the belief, that's the belief about people who smoke
locks. Oh, right. Well, that comes out of the
from rosters.
From the rosters, right?
Yeah.
Right. So people think that you wear locks that you smoke weed. Yeah. Wow, that's amazing. That's amazing.
Yeah, no. So don't. So I said, well, it might be true for the other people, but wrong here, don't smoke it. No.
Right. All right. Okay, I guess we can.
Wrap it up.
Yeah.
Last comments.
Yeah. Well, I just think that, but the thing you say that I'm not my hair, right? And although it is, part of your beauty, but like I mean, she brought that home and she said, I'm not my hair. And I just want to reiterate too that all hair is good because all hair comes from God.
Exactly.
Yeah. So whatever you decide you want to do, and then whatever you do it healthily.
Do it healthy.
Right.
And the thing is, even people who think they don't have good hair, you grow into that and you realize how beautiful your hair is.
Yeah. But this whole notion to be just like, I think that's why Chris Rock did the movie, was like just throw that notion out because it's just a ridiculous notion.
Exactly.
And so, anyway, thank you again for having this conversation.
Yeah.
That's great.
Yeah.
And I would just want to say to our viewing audience, please like and share. And if you would like to participate in some of our talks, you can message me on Facebook. But until our next conversation, continue to grow in love, light, and consciousness.